Great decorating is all about the details, including a gorgeous textured set of coasters. How we love a coaster. Functional. And why not be beautiful? Quince has a gorgeous set of woven rattan coasters in 3 terrific colors with their own little holder that you're going to absolutely love. And if you haven't visited quince.com/DTT yet, get on over there. It's everyday elevated living without the markup. From crisp 100% linen bedding and soft organic cotton towels to airy curtains and premium kitchen tools designed for everyday use. And the best part? Like Quince's clothing, their home goods are half the cost of similar brands. By partnering with top artisans, Quince cuts out the cost of the middleman and passes the savings on to us. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Elevate your space with home essentials from Quince. Go to quince.com/DTT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's Quince, QUINCE.com/DTT to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/DTT. Substance over style? How about we call it even? Hey everybody, I'm Kelly Wilkness here with Anita Joyce, and this is Decorating Tips and Tricks. Today we're discussing stylish office ideas. And sure, your office needs to meet your needs, but it also needs to look good. And we're here to give you some great tips on how to achieve both.
Everyone seems to have a home office ever since COVID. So before, maybe not everybody did, but it really does seem to be very common now, and people are spending a lot of time in there. So let's make it beautiful.
Yeah. So if your daily commute is down the hall, or you only use your home office space for bill paying or a private escape, perhaps, it still should be functional and stylish.
My first thought is to think about built-in shelving units. Now, we could even be looking at floating shelves. These can be used to hold books or other things that you might need in the room. They might hold something decorative, but I think shelves are a lovely addition to your room.
Yeah, that's a great use of the space, because sometimes people's offices, or dare I say most times, people's offices are not going to be that huge when it's a home office. Maybe it's just a little spare room you had, or you're converting a guest room, or like in our case, we took one of our daughter's rooms and turned it into Peter's office quite recently. So I have a lot of ideas that I really just acted upon to share today. I did etagere style.
Oh, I
shelving.
love those.
Yeah. And I think I got them on, it was a company that was not so familiar to me. So I'll have to look for it. And if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. And they matched the finish of the desk really well. I was even going to consider painting them when we painted the room, but I left them in the sort of off-whitish that they came. And it's really nice because it is a small room and it doesn't feel as closed in, but yet he's got room to put some things. And then I've styled them. And sometimes, like, was it Caroline Landry, the comedian who's on Instagram that I used as a crush not too long ago? I think that's her name. But, she has her inferior designer doing some really
Yes.
unique, whimsical things. Well, Peter's got this great idea of stacking up all the mail he's been getting for his mom. Yes, from the care facility and all these other places. It's a lot of mail. And he's just whimsically, as Caroline would say, piling it up next to... Yeah, it looks great worked in with the vignette that I created on one of these open shelves. So
I don't
it's just been
understand
terrific.
all the mail, because we're getting that too.
Yeah, it's a lot of mail.
It's like we're just my mom's mailbox.
We get a lot of mail. We get
A lot. I get a lot more for her.
Yeah, and I get a lot of catalogs I didn't even think they made anymore. I'm just going to say.
Spiegel, do they still make that?
Spiegel.
I don't think so.
Gosh. I got the Montgomery Ward catalog the other day. Yes. Well, I don't even give all those wonderful items, which would look great in Peter's personalized vignettes. But he's just taking the real administrative mail and incorporating it beautifully into that shelving. So that's really been great. But other than that, it looks really good in there. And I'm really happy with all of it. And I don't think we spent more than maybe $500 on the desk and the 2 open etagères.
Oh, nice. Yeah, wow, that's
very
great.
Reasonable. Yeah.
Well, so the thing I was going to suggest is a standing desk. Also, Kevin needs to stand a lot while he's working at the desk. And I have a very lovely antique French desk that's really pretty.
Trying to figure out how you got that to go up and down for Kevin.
Well, the French desk is stationary.
Okay.
And he needed the standing desk, but he had something that was pretty hideous looking, and I said, no.
Now, so, I know it's your office, but no.
So what I did was I found one that I thought was attractive, and I said, how about this standing desk? He doesn't care. If it goes up and down, he's fine with it. So I got a pretty one. I think it's kind of similar to the one you have, where it's a white desk and the white legs. And I think that's just the prettiest that I've seen. And, it's the yin and the yang. It's the contemporary with the antique, but I think it's fine. So we have the standing desk as that's where the computer is, behind the desk. So, we don't put the computer on our antique desk because that would be crazy. So we just have it on the standing desk in the back. Anyway, it works. And I think it looks pretty good. So.
And I like the yin and the yang. And that extends to you and Kevin too. So it's a lot of yin and yang in there. I was going to suggest he might not like this idea, but couldn't he just kneel and then be at the French desk? I mean, you're sort of standing. But I like the tension you're creating.
Let me suggest that one to him.
Yeah, well, but it sounds like you've solved the problem in a better way. But you could always fall back.
He's
on
very
that.
happy. Oh, and and actually, it's pretty good looking. A very thick mat. That's kind of what are those called? It's one that anti-fatigue mat. I think that's what they're called.
Oh,
it's very thick. No, it's not bad looking. But it just looks, it's okay. It looks all right, but then that's my functional thing. But it doesn't look as bad as you would think. I bought the best looking one I could find. So that's in there too.
Well, then he can clearly kneel. It's not going to be a problem.
Okay, I'll pass that along.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a nice thick yoga mat under him. I drew the line. There are no mats. But anyway, now we're talking about sort of offices for, somebody else other than ourselves. I mean, I have an office too, and I'm sure you have an office as well. And we're really talking about your offices, everybody out there today. So just giving you some great ideas of, where you can make it beautiful, where you might have to say no. But generally offices can be small, sometimes even dark, because it might just be, as I said, like a small room off to the side. Maybe it only has one window. And you don't want to use it as a catch-all room. Don't fall into that trap of yourself doing it or letting others just put stuff they're not sure where to put in your office or the office, particularly if it's a shared space. So you want to make sure that there's not a lot of clutter. If it needs to be there because it's office related, we're going to help you find places to put it that look great and also function well. But you don't want to be putting like the stuff you want to return to wherever in a pile over there, or you don't want to put wrapping paper that you just used but didn't put away yet in there. You know what I'm saying. Keep it clear. You're going to have enough things in an office that maybe aren't that attractive, that have to be there. You don't want to add more stuff.
That's true. And if you're going to be storing things, I found some really pretty kind of linen looking light blue linen boxes that you can store things in, put a label on, you'll know what's in them, about $9 a box. I'm going to share the link. Now, these are very similar to some that I bought at IKEA. Unfortunately, they don't carry them anymore there, or I would send you there. But these are very lovely. You can stack them up. Just don't put anything too heavy in them because, obviously these are kind of lightweight things. But I think these would be really nice. You could put them on some shelves or even kind of stack them somewhere.
Yeah, and that's a great way to store these types of mailings or bills or things like that. And you can have a designated container, a cube, whatever shape they are for each one, and you know where to go. If they took a label, you could label, but I wouldn't even do that because then you're seeing the label, although I know Anita likes her labels, but maybe not in that instance.
Well, they're practical. I mean, if you don't need to know what's in the box, I don't care, but if you don't need to know what's in the box, then why is it even in there? So,
well, I guess what I'm saying,
what about a small little discreet label just so you know what's there?
Okay, a little discreet label. But if it's boxes or things that you're interacting with daily, you'll remember on the right side is all my mother-in-law's bills, and on the other side are things, other things. Mm-hmm. We want you to think realistically about what the room is being used for and what your or the person who's using this office needs are. And then once you get that all down, then we're going to layer on the style, right? Because you don't want to just jump to the style right away, because if the room doesn't function well, it doesn't matter how good it looks, right? And then you're going to be adding things. There's going to be bins. There's going to be stuff on the floor because you don't have a place to put everything. So you do have to consider all the amount of things that are going to have to be in there, and they might grow, and maybe you can get rid of some things as time goes on, but then you'll have more things. So as a functioning office, you really have to be driven by the use and the user. Hey, we'll be right back with the rest of the show, but keep listening so we can continue bringing you DTT. I can't stop using dupe.com. This is an amazing website, service, best friend. I absolutely love it. So you find something that you really want and it's too expensive, it's a budget buster. Then you use dupe.com and you can find almost the exact thing or very similar products for much less. So I was crushing on this incredibly gorgeous coffee table. I had it in my mind. I had it in my Pinterest boards. I had it everywhere, but I just didn't have it in my house because it was too expensive. When I learned about dupe.com, that was the first product that I tested. And boy, did I find some amazing dupes. And I purchased one. So the original was almost $3,000. And Dupe showed me many choices, all the way down to under $200. Now, you may think something this extraordinary is hard to use, but it's so easy. Just type dupe.com / before any product URL in your browser, and boom, it instantly finds you less expensive alternatives. They even have an app and a browser extension you can download. No account required, no sign up required. It's completely free. That's completely free, free to use. Stop wasting your money on brand names and start saving with dupe.com today.
Another thing you can do is to add a pin board covered in a beautiful designer fabric. I mean, designers and decorators use these all the time, and they'll have a very simple fabric on there so that they can put fabrics and trims and other things up there to see if they go together. But if you're not a designer or a decorator, you still might want a pinup board. You've talked about, Kelly, that you're old school. You want to see it. You want to touch it. You don't want to have an electronic mood board. You want everything there that you can see. So, someone that doesn't like the electronic version of something, this would be a great idea. And if you like a paper calendar, you could put that up there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We talked about desks, some jokingly, some with great tips already, but think about the desk and the placement of the desk. Now, if you're a person who has a lot of wires and you're going to need drawers and whatnot, I would not get a leggy desk because you're going to see all those wires coming down. You're really not going to have necessarily drawers on either side. So I would consider getting a desk that is more a solid piece where when you're sitting under, your legs go in, but there's an end to it. There's a, front or a back, however you want to think about that. And then it's sort of enclosed onto itself. Then the wires can be hidden, and you maybe can have a center drawer. You could have maybe file drawers on either side. I mean, that is really going to be a nice, clean look when you walk into the room. But you also have to think about what's the best position in the room. While it would be very nice to have the desk facing sort of out to the room, maybe that's not really practical for wire reasons. And also another reason you might not want that set up and furniture placement in the room is because if you're having a big screen in front of you all the time. So then you're going to see the big screen. Like right now, when we podcast, I sit in front of a computer that is the very large screen, and it's against or close to a wall. It's a dormered wall, so I'm not right up against it. But I wouldn't want this on my desk that's in the middle of the room. So I kind of have like an L set up. That's another consideration. If you're a person who does different tasks, so you're on the computer some, and then maybe you want to have a flat surface for writing, an L configuration might be very good for you. Or you're a person that uses two monitors. My husband has several monitors going, and so he needs to have space where he can move around. But we were able to get the two monitors to fit on the desk that we chose for him, and he likes having it that way rather than kind of moving his chair around.
Isn't that called a return, the L shape? Isn't that called a return?
I don't know. Maybe it is.
Okay. All right. Just wondering.
Yeah, could be. I don't know. But that's something to consider. What technology you're using and how do you use the desk? Vintage is so great, but you're not going to have stuff like a keypad drawer or those wire holes. I mean, you could drill a hole for the wires in something older. So it's all things that you really want to consider before you start making purchases. And if you're not sure how you're going to work in the office, maybe you got a new job or you had never had an at-home office, spend some time thinking about how you'd like to function in the space first.
You make a good point about the wires because I don't like looking at those either, but I do love a leggy desk. So you can buy some little stick-on clippy things to go on the back of your legs.
Oh.
Not your legs, the desk's legs, for those wires to go down there, and they're a little more hidden if you don't see the back of the desk. If the back of the desk is facing the front of the office, obviously that is not a good solution, but that's certainly something that you can look into. And speaking of the desks, we used to have one of those oversized mahogany things years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. It looks like a banker's desk or something.
Yes.
I that's something you can do if you need more storage, but I feel like most of those desks feel out of place in a modern home. It just they feel too heavy and too banky. I don't know. So I kind of like definitely, and things have gone lighter these days anyway. So I think I would move much more towards something that's a much smaller desk. And if you need room to spread out, like you were saying, you can do the desk like you suggested that has the return or the L shape on it. What we've done is I put in a table up there as well. That kind of acts as my desk, but it's also kind of a table where, if one of us is working on a project, we can spread out on there because I keep it clean. So you kind of spread out there, just kind of, and then we just put it up when we're done. So it is nice to have an extra surface because, the desk already has stuff on it normally. And so you don't often have room to spread out there. What about a credenza? I mean, that's something else you can do. Like I said, we have a desk behind the desk because that's where the computer is. But if you need the storage, you can put a credenza there. You can put the computer on top of that if there's a knee hole in the credenza, or maybe it has a pull-out drawer, or maybe you don't put your computer there, but it's just storage. I think that's a great thing to do for, again, if it's a study in your home, it probably didn't come with a closet. But if you converted a bedroom, then there's a closet and you are so blessed and you have all that room that you can use. But, our study here does not have a closet. So we had to add a lot of storage.
Yeah, and if you do have a closet, maybe that's a place where you can tuck away the printer and printer paper and maybe more files like old taxes and things like that. So that would be a great option for you if you have a closet in there. Maybe it's a closet with just the rods. You can perhaps change it to some shelving to make it a little more functional as an office closet. Comfy chair. Now, chairs are important to Anita and to Kelly, and poor Peter was on a very uncomfortable but very good-looking chair when his office was downstairs. But we were able to find him a very, very good-looking gold and black leather, so brushed gold arms and brushed gold bottom, one of those rolly ergonomic chairs, which he loves. We did have to put it together, which was a bit of a marital challenge, but we did it. And because we did have one, and it broke and the back fell and he fell. I think it might have been operator error.
Did you put it together?
No, I want to say he did it. I put together the second one. I'm the handy one. So anyway, we had to get rid of that one because there was no Allen wrench was going to put that thing back together again. The screw actually broke. So anyway, we got this other chair, and it's really good looking.
We have a really comfortable ergonomic chair from when Kevin was working at home, but I kind of just kept that not in the house. And just kind of, we also have an office chair that we've had since we first got married. That's a navy leather Martha Washington chair, but it's an office chair. It's got the wheels and it swivels and all that, which is much better looking. And so I just kind of put that up there. There were no complaints. And so I just kept my mouth shut.
Okay, good. In your mind, that was a compromise anyway. So yes, no one should be complaining about that. Your lighting has to be really good in this room as it does in other rooms, but we're not really necessarily going for mood all the time. You might need some very good overhead lighting. We're not giant fans of overhead lighting, certainly not on its own. But you're probably going to want to have some overhead lighting. And whether it's a little extra room or side room, there's probably an electrical box in the ceiling. So you probably want to think about something that is more a semi-flush mount that maybe spreads out a little bit and has more than one bulb rather than just one little light. Definitely not a boob light. It's just something so you're going to get a little bit more illumination, and maybe it can take a higher LED, or if you still are playing around with those incandescents, something that has a little bit more wattage, and of course have it on a dimmer. But there might be times that you want to really bring up the overhead lighting if you're working on a task where you have to be reading something, or if you're a doctor and you're performing surgery, you're going to have the lighting for it in there. But you're going to want to have a desk light. You're going to want to perhaps have other table lamps around. If you have the credenza, like Anita's saying, you could maybe put some back there. And perhaps it will be time for you to poke around on the Pookie site, because we both love these cordless lights.
Yeah. I'm
Anita,
thinking about getting another one.
Yeah, okay. I spent like 45 minutes, maybe more, on their site the other day after you were talking about it.
I know it wasn't $45 because you can't get anything for that.
No, it was not $45. You could barely get a shade for $50. But I'm going to say this is one of those things that's worth it, because you've got this convenience value. They're beautiful, and I really think they function well, and you're so happy with yours. I'm sure we'd all be thrilled. So I narrowed it down.
Oh, are you getting one?
3 or 4? Yes, but I'm deciding. I've narrowed it down. Usually I'm just like quick on the draw, like I'm going to decide. Yeah. But I kept thinking there were so many places where I don't have outlets in my Victorian home.
Now I realize I need another one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been stuck, not having a lamp where I would really like one for so long because of the dearth of outlets in my house. So I'm like, should I put them here? Should I put it here? Oh, maybe over here. So I think an office, which is where I have my original little cordless chargeable lamp, is on the vintage part of my desk. And that's been terrific, because that part of the desk is in the middle of the room, and I don't have any outlet there on the floor. So that's a great solution. So if you have your desk in the middle of the space looking out, and there's no outlet anywhere near you. You don't want to be dragging these wires all over the place. Get yourself a rechargeable light and start with Pookie. They're beautiful.
Well, it really is a great solution for so many places. And you're exactly right. If you have a desk in the middle of the room or furniture in your living room, that was the problem in my living room, this little table, not near an outlet. And I actually do have an outlet in the floor below the table, but it's this leggy French desk. And so this cord is going to be hanging down the side of the desk. I really didn't want to do that. It's going to be very obvious. So yeah, that's a great place to put another one of those Pookie lamps. So yes, thank you for now adding. Now I need two.
Now you need to, definitely.
Well, so something else you can think about, and I do love this look, and that is built-in cabinets. If you have a newer home, you probably already have built-in cabinets. We had those in our previous house. I miss them so much. They had so much storage. I had the drawers set up so that I had built-in file cabinets in there, and I had some, place to hide electronic equipment. It was so nice, and plugs behind the doors so you could put stuff back there. So it really is nice if you have custom built-in cabinets so that you can design them to hide a lot of things that you don't want out in the open. But if you don't have them, you don't have to have them. But I do love the look, and it's really nice to just kind of have that dark color we've talked about. A dark navy or charcoal gray. I just think that's so beautiful in built-in cabinets in a study.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about perhaps this is a smaller size room or maybe even a darker room. Maybe lean into the darker colors for the walls. And maybe this is a place where you can try that color drenching that we've been getting asked a lot of questions about because people are seeing it everywhere in the magazines and on Instagram, various places where you're painting the wall a dark color and then you're carrying that same color onto the trim. I think it can work really well in an office type of space. The dark color kind of lends itself. You're in there, cozied in. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same palette. I would have something complementary, of course, but it doesn't have to necessarily be the exact same palette in the rest of the house. It's onto itself. It's a place where there's going to be a natural stop with the color on the trim and the molding because presumably it's an office. It's going to have a closed door. So if you want to try that look, which is trendy, may go out sooner than someone might have hoped if they did the painting job, but you might really enjoy it. And it's not that big of a deal if you wanted to then either change the trim or the wall color. I would, in that case, probably take the trim back to a neutral, a white or something like that if you got tired of it. But I think it's a great place to try that if you're interested in it. A lot of people seem really tempted by that.
Another option, if you want that look, but you don't have the budget for it, go to IKEA, look for some of their storage solutions, and then you're going to paint it the color of your wall, whatever that is. And I have some Havsta bookcases that I have in my hallway upstairs, and I have 4 of them right next to each other. And, people have asked me if they're built in. So they are actually white, which the wall is white. So they kind of look built in. Mm-hmm. So that would just be my tip. Paint them the color of the wall. And those have pine shelves, so they're going to hold up to heavy books or whatever you put on them.
I like the idea of painting the semi-custom or purchased built-ins the same color as the wall, really no matter what color the wall is, because it's going to be less visual noise. And you might have a lot of things. If this is a really working office, not just some place that you pop in every once in a while to do some bills or whatnot. If it's a functioning office that you're in every day, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff in there, a lot of work-related things and papers and computers and all this stuff. So if you can kind of quiet it down a little bit by choosing the same color for the bookcases or the cabinetry and have it just blend right into the wall, I think that's a really nice thing to be able to accomplish. So it feels a little less busy. Another thing you might want to think about is sound. I had this issue come up with a client. We added acoustic tiles to the walls, and acoustic tiles are really attractive if you get the right ones. So you've probably seen those drop ceilings in offices, and those are very ugly, and they have some sort of acoustic capabilities, blockings of sound, but that's not what I'm talking about. There are actually companies now that make really good looking acoustic tiles that you can actually choose in so many different colors, even different textures, and you can create art out of them. So we chose ones that were honeycombed, and we used 3 different colors, and we made this sort of swirling kind of wave-like honeycomb art installation on the wall. And it did so much to not only keep the sound in, but also keep some sound out. So that's a great option, and it doesn't have to be unattractive. You could also add draperies and, of course, other textiles to absorb the sounds.
Oh, those are great ideas. And sound really can be a problem either direction if you're recording or if there are sounds in your house and you're trying to have a private business call and your kids are kind of loud in the other room. I'm also thinking about storage, and what about a pretty decorative box to put on your desk to maybe hide some smaller things, maybe some stray papers or pens or that sort of thing. I found a really pretty decorative box on Amazon. Believe it or not, it's burled wood, and it's the kind of box I was thinking about that tends to be antique. And this was less than $40, so I'll share that. And I think it's always nice to have a pretty box to put in your house. You can use it for a riser too in another room.
Yeah.
If you end up not needing it anymore in your office, but I think they're very nice to have.
And I like burled wood. You don't see that often. That would be a nice addition. Yeah, so you're going to want to do things like that too. You're going to want to add real decorative pieces, maybe a little vignette. How about a comfy accent chair with a little poof and a little side table? I keep imagining this room is smaller, but obviously if you have a bigger room.
Our other house had all these amenities that this house does not have, but it has a very large study. That's the one thing this house has. I shouldn't say the one thing, but something very nice about it. So we do have the main desk and the standing desk in the center. And then over to the left, there's a bookcase. And then there's the table that kind of acts as my desk. Then to the right, there's 2 comfy chairs.
Oh, wow.
And there's an ottoman, and then my sewing machine is there. And then we've got files on that side. I mean, this house even has a sink and a refrigerator up there. I mean, like a little mini one, like a little mini refrigerator, which we don't use, but.
Wow, you can meet Kevin at the water cooler, Yeah, well, that sounds tremendous, but even literally and figuratively, but even if you have a small space and you don't have a gigantic desk, maybe you can get in an accent chair and pull it up close to the window if possible. Do a little side table, maybe one of the garden stools that we love, just a place where you could perch a coffee cup or a mug or something like that. And maybe get yourself a little ottoman or a little poof. So it'd be super comfy. That's another place if you don't, maybe you have a standing desk, or maybe you just want to switch it up and maybe you can read or do some computer work from that chair rather than being at your desk all day. I mean, moving around is a really great idea. Don't stay in there all day, even if you make it absolutely stylish and beautiful, like we're suggesting. You want to go take a walk, put the dog on the leash and take a little 10-minute break. That's a great idea too. But when you come back and you're like, wow, this is such a beautiful space. I don't mind being in here. Light a candle. Get a signature scent, carry the same scent that you love in the house through into your office. Make it really beautiful. And I think the workday is just going to be so much more lovely and productive if you do that.
Well, and another idea, if you do not have a closet, think about maybe buying an armoire. And we love antique armoires for storage. Some of them, well, they were all meant for clothing. So if you buy one and it doesn't have shelves, you can have those made to go in there, or you can buy a new item. I mean, you can certainly go to IKEA and buy something that acts like that's got closed storage. But what I'm really thinking of is closed storage And if you need something very functional, you're on a tight budget, go check out IKEA. If you have a little more money and you like antiques, go check them out, because I think an armoire is such a great way to add elegance to the room and a lot of hidden storage.
Yeah, and that's another place, like I mentioned with the closet, that maybe you'd want to add some shelving. We've done that. There were a couple of armoires left here, and we were not going to necessarily hang our clothes in them. So I made one for outdoor pillows and outdoor blankets and things like that. And then we keep that out in the barn. And then there's one in the house that acts more like a linen closet. So you could have that act as your office supply closet. And I think that's a great idea. A mirror is always terrific in any room. We're always advocating for you adding a mirror, particularly if you can reflect the outdoors. That's going to do a lot to bring more light into the room, and perhaps even the reflection of trees. And it's going to, in an office, that's particularly important. But in an office, you're going to want to be really careful about what the mirror is reflecting. So like in a living room, you don't want to put the mirror on the opposite side of the TV because you're just reflecting the television. You don't want to put it on the other side of the computer screen or the back of the computer screen, because then that's all you're going to be seeing in the mirror. So even if you're looking at the computer screen and over it on the other side of the room, there's a wall with a mirror on it, you're going to just be looking at the back of your screen and the wires. The wires will be doubled. So totally a great idea to get a mirror in there if you can, but really pay attention to where you're placing it. So what are we defining today?
Well, I have another review first. People have been so wonderful. Really, it's been so touching to read these. These are so wonderful. This is from Nancy L.S. Malone. I stumbled upon DTT a while ago and cannot get enough. There is no other podcast like it. I've gone back and caught up on all the past episodes.
Wow, Nancy, that's a commitment.
I know, so much great advice, inspiration, and actionable content. I've listened to several episodes multiple times. Wow, Nancy! They are in my ear when I'm on the road, cleaning, walking, etc., and they have helped my decor and mindset in so many ways. I hope they continue for many years to come.
We're with you, Nancy. So we're not going anywhere. Thank you so much, Nancy. We really appreciate that. And, the actionable content really jumped out at me. All the nice things she said really, obviously warmed my heart. But that one in particular jumps out at me because that is what Anita and I strive to do. We love each other and we love chatting and we love, having laughs together and with you guys. But really, the goal of every single episode is for us to give you tips and sometimes tricks to be able to make these changes in your homes or just think about your homes in a different way. We want to give you concrete information that you can do something with. And I think that we've achieved that. And I love that Nancy noticed that we have too.
Well, very much so. You're right. I mean, we really do try to make it stuff that you can go home and try in an afternoon. I mean, obviously not every piece of advice we offer is something that you can do easily, but we really do try to make it something that's very doable in about any price range. So yeah, I think definitely that is something that we work on. So thank you so much, Nancy.
Okay, so now what are we defining?
Okay, so now we're defining a French door. And I thought I was going to find a lot of interesting background on the French doors. That really didn't happen. They seem to have been invented around the Renaissance. Some sources claim they originated in France. Others said Italy. Either way, the architects were inspired by Roman and Greek design, and they were originally used in doorways that led out to a balcony. So French doors, if you don't know what they are typically two doors that open side by side that can both be open. And they can either have one large pane of glass in them or several smaller panes in the door. And when both doors are open, they become a large opening. And they're typically used on the back of a house, out to a yard or a garden. So there you have it.
And I love that you did Dutch doors last time and French.
Well, that's right. I was on a door roll, I guess.
Yeah, on a door roll. I wonder how many other kinds of countries are named after,
Well,
not
you'll
countries,
have to find out.
Cultures, I guess, right?
Find out next week if we're going to be covering doors.
Oh my gosh, another reason to tune in.
Okay, what's your crush?
My crush is a book. I love this author, Alice McDermott, and I recently read her very slim volume called Someone, and I enjoyed it tremendously. She writes and develops and shares characters that have a lot of depth, and you really feel like you know these people. And it was a really wonderful read. It's I'm not going to give any more away. I highly suggest either another one of Alice McDermott's books or start with Someone is a great entry if you're not familiar with her as an author, and I will link it in the show notes.
Oh, this one sounds very intriguing. I'm going to have to check this one out. Mine is also a book today. I did something very practical last time, so this time I am covering the book, How They Entertain at Home with the Tastemakers. Now, this is a very heavy book. It's a very big book, and it tends to be very expensive. But right now, it is marked way down on Amazon. So if you're going to get it, you need to go get it pretty soon. It is full of gorgeous, luxurious interiors from around the globe. And I'm not sure I would say it focuses that much on the entertaining part. It doesn't really show a lot of tables all set with dishes and everything. But the homes that are showcased are gorgeous and very unique. So if you love beautiful images of very opulent homes, you're going to enjoy sitting down with your favorite beverage and just having a fun look through. Now, there's plenty of text to read as well, but I've been enjoying just looking through this one.
Perfect. That sounds like a good one. I don't know how you're tripping upon all these really low-priced design books, but you mentioned that a couple of weeks ago too. So I don't know what's going on there.
I do the work. I do the work for you. I suffer for you.
Yes, you're willing to try it, buy it, even at full price sometimes to let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for hanging out with us. And remember, we're here to inspire you to create a beautiful home. Until next time.
We want to tell you about something we're always crushing on. It's the Affordable Interior Design Podcast, hosted by our friend Betsy Helmuth. We're going to let Betsy tell you a little bit more about her show.
Welcome to the Affordable Interior Design by Uploft podcast, the ultimate destination for transforming your space on a budget. Revamp your home without emptying your wallet because our host, designer and entrepreneur Betsy Helmuth, that's me, has all the tips, tricks, and insider secrets you need. Join us every week as we explore the world of interior design through a frugal lens. From budget-friendly decor hacks to thrifty DIY projects, we're here to help you create a home you love without breaking the bank. Listen in as I guide you through the ins and outs of affordable interior design. My expertise has been showcased on NBC's Today Show, HGTV, DIY Network, Lifetime Network, and more. And I've personally worked with over 1,000 clients over the past 2 decades at my New York City-based firm. But that is not all. I want to hear from you. Do you have a design dilemma? Need advice on sprucing up a small space or refreshing your outdated furniture? Send me your questions and I will answer them live on air. Whether you're a renter, a homeowner, design business owner, wannabe designer, or just an enthusiast, Affordable Interior Design by Uploft is your go-to podcast for practical advice and creative ideas. Grab your headphones, fire up your favorite podcast player, follow Affordable Interior Design by Uploft, and join us on this exciting journey to transform any space affordably.
Want to talk to us? Well, we really want to talk to you. So let's schedule a design consult. Anita and I are here to give you individualized, actionable advice on how to create the beautiful home you want and deserve. It's so easy to schedule a design consult with us. Simply click the link in the show notes or head to decoratingtipsandtricks.com/consult. When we talk to you on the scheduled time, we will be ready with so many great tips, advice, and yes, tricks. So sign up today for a design consult. We can't wait to talk to you.